Building a factory is one of the first and major steps when it comes to pure water production or when you're in the process of establishing a water factory. And in this video today, we'll be going through some of those things you need to know before you actually start building your factory or before you convert a building into a pure water factory. So the first thing, like I always say in my videos, is that you should make sure that where you are establishing the factory or where you intend to use as a water factory production site, you actually own the place. So it is very important to own the place because of the kind of project you'll be doing there. You'll be drilling borehole, you'll be building structures, you'll be making some connections, plumbing connections, electrical connections. So all those things need to be in a space where you actually own. So that in case in the future you want to do something else or you want to expand the project, you have all the rights and the access to do whatever it is you want to do on that piece of land. So owning the place is very important when it comes to building your factory. Now, when it comes to converting to, it's also advisable that you own the building that you are converting. Some people will say they want to rent a space. After renting, then they'll convert that particular space into a water factory. This is not advisable. It is highly advisable that either you are building or converting a space, you actually own the place that you are using for this project. Now, in the building side, there are several sections which you need to create in your water factory. Now, regardless of if you are building a pure water factory, a bottled water factory, a dispenser, gallon filling factory, the layout is fairly or usually the same. You need a production room, you need a raw materials room, you need cloak room, you need water treatment section, you need storage, you need an office, you need toilets, then maybe any other accommodation that's outside within the premises of the factory. It is important that you work according to the NAFDAC plan. I actually have a building plan. It comes with my one-on-one coaching session, the business plan, building plan, cost analysis report, and NAFDAC checklist. This building plan will help you lay out your factory in such a way that you actually be abiding by the guidelines of NAFDAC. Now, this can be replicated also on a building which you are converting and if you are building from scratch. This building plan will serve as a guide for you to understand how to section your factory. And now when it comes to building from scratch, the cost of building now it varies depending on the kind of structure you are going for. Some people go for a basic structure, maybe just for like a mini pure water factory. Some people convert buildings, maybe like a simple one bedroom or two bedroom that you have, you can convert it. Now some people build specifically for a factory. In short, our bottled water factory was built specifically for a bottled water factory. That is why you see the structure. Like I'll include clips and pictures of buildings of water factories in this video. So that is why you see the structure like that. So depending on the kind of building you are going for, either a simple building or you are converting or you are building an industrial building, the cost of building will vary. You need to account for the floor work you will do, foundation, buying of woods, nails, all those things that have to do with construction. So you need to keep in mind when you are getting your quotation, your estimate, you should be able to, let the contractors know the kind of building you are going for and the kind of budget which you have to allocate for the kind of structure. One tip again is with the building items, you can buy some of them on time. You can maybe buy the blocks earlier, you can buy cement and store them if you have a space to store all these things. It will ease the process for you because inflation now in Nigeria, recently dollar just went up again. So inflation in Nigeria is just messing the whole thing up when it comes to buying of items in the market. So it is important for you to buy these things, and over time, once you have enough money or once you have enough materials, you can begin the building project from scratch. Now, when building, it is good for you to also create waterways. Now, this could be outside the factory because once you are producing, there is a lot of water that will be expelled from the reverse osmosis machine and maybe from the tanks. Maybe when the tanks overflow, once they are filled up, they will spill over. So it is good for you to make good water network within the premises so that the whole place won't look messy and shabby. If there's a gutter nearby, you can route the water coming from the factory into the gutter. Or maybe if you have a plantation or somewhere else that the water can be used, you can route the water to such channels so that at least the water from the factory can also be used for other purposes. If you are building only a pure water factory, you can work with a small plan. Maybe if you are working on two plots of land, if you are working on three plots, you can just make it portable. There are so many examples I will include in this video so that you can have an idea of what it should look like. But if you are going with a pure water factory, pure water is not very bulky. I've posted a lot of videos of the pure water machine. So I've even posted a video of a full factory. So at least from that video, you should be able to know the kind of size and the kind of space you will allocate for the construction of your factory. Now, if you are building for a sachet water factory and you intend to maybe do bottled water in the same space and maybe dispenser in the future, now this is a different case. You need to make your factory very spacious because the bottling equipment is quite lengthy. Depending on how you arrange it, I can't really give, but I'll just include videos to help you understand. So, but depending on how you arrange it, in short, the installation team will help you with that. Depending on how they arrange it, it's a production line because there's the feeding side for the bottling machine, then there's the shrink wrapping side. So all in all, you just need to make the factory very spacious. And for bottled water factories, usually it sits on anything from two plots of lands, or two plots upwards, maybe two plots, three plots, depending on how big you want it to be. So be able to determine how much space you allocate or the land you currently have or the building you currently have will be enough to accommodate the project. Now, also on this same land, you should know that there's other things too that will need to sit on that land. That's excluding the factory only. You will need a space in the compound to park your trucks, your vehicles. You will need a space for your generator room. You will need a space for your raw water tank. That's the one outside. Some people do put their tanks inside too, but you can have a raw water tank outside. Maybe if you also need an overhead tank, you know, you also do that on outside. So there should be enough space. There should also be space where you dispose waste because there are a lot of waste products, maybe from the nylon, or maybe once you blow bottles, there are bottles that might tear in the process of blowing. Maybe you have bad caps and other things like that, bad used filters. So all these things you can have a space because there are a lot. There are a lot. If you keep on compiling them, piling them, you'll see that it will get to a point that you wouldn't have enough space to store anything within the compound. Everywhere will just look messy. So it is important for you to create a space for your waste products or waste materials. By the way, if you've watched the video this far, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like on the video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. This shows your support and it actually encourages me to create more contents and publish it here on the channel. Now, speaking more on the factory space, your water treatment section can also be outside the factory. Now, some people, depending on the piece of land you have, some installation teams will actually advise you do the water treatment plant or the water treatment section outside the factory. Meanwhile, if your factory is spacious enough, you can also do it inside the factory. I'll leave clips of pure water factories with the water treatment section inside and pure water factory with water treatment section outside. So depending on the team which you are working with, the consultation team and the people on ground, they can be able to better advise if you should have it inside or outside. Now, if you are having it outside, it is also important for you to have a shed, like a roofing, a covering for the water treatment equipment. Because if sunlight actually touches, or over time, if the rays of sunlight touches the reverse osmosis machine and the water treatment section, it starts to build up this algae, this green stuff, spirogyra, what is this they call that? They start to grow within that area. So it is important for you to shed the area, at least limit sunlight from coming in there, and carry out sanitation in that area so that the water treatment section can always be clean. Now, when it comes to wiring your factory, that's for bringing light into the factory. If this is a fresh building, if you are working with only pure water equipment, usually one phase should be enough in the factory for the pure water equipment only. But if you'll be working with bottled water, you intend to work with bottled water. And also, for the pure water section, if you are working with a reverse osmosis, like most of these foreign reverse osmosis machines, I've seen one with three phase. So if you are working with a foreign reverse osmosis machine, or you intend to do bottled water and dispenser, or to upgrade your production in the future, you can install three phase. You can work with three phase in the building, because like the bottling equipment, the shrink wrapping machine, the blowing machine, they are all three phase equipment. So you can keep this in mind when moving ahead with the project. And for the wiring of the building, there are there are different types of wires we use. Like the wire coming from the transformer into the factory, that's the normal reclin wire. But if it is for the installation, I know they use armor cable for connecting the equipment. But for the installation, that one, the installation team will handle that one. But for bringing light into the factory, it is the normal reclin wire. And if you intend to use bottling equipment in the factory and dispenser equipment, those equipments are heavy. So it is highly advisable, if you can, to buy a dedicated transformer for that particular building, because the kind of light which we get, like in our own factory, in our bottling factory, there was a time when the light was not stable. Back then, we didn't have a transformer in the factory. So light keep on coming and going. It affected a lot of our equipment. We had to repair our shrink wrapping machine. At a point, our compressor for the blowing machine too was also affected. So if you need stable electricity, stable current in the factory, it is advisable that you get a transformer for this. I think in my next video, or when I do a video about powering the factory, I will shed more light on that. And if you need the contact of those selling the transformer and installing the transformer, you can leave a comment and I'll get back to you on that. Now, also for the transformer, when having the transformer installed, it is important that at least you consult the power holding company, because they will be the ones that will give you an approval, and they'll do the whole process for you. And if there are places where you need to buy pole, maybe one or two poles to connect the electricity to your factory, that will be done. When building the factory also, try and make sure that where you are setting up the facility, it has access to good road network. Now, in the past, our bottling factory back then, the road to the factory was not very good. It was not good at all. In short, it was not good. It wasn't a road. It was just a dirt road. In short, erosion at some point was eating up the road. This affected our vehicle. We had this big truck that was able to carry up to 800 bags of pure water. There was a time the truck capsized as it was trying to come back to the factory. So we've had a lot of experience. Sure, there was a time it got stuck in the mud. They had to pull the vehicle out. So we ran into lots of challenges because of the bad road to the factory. So you can also keep this in mind and try to make sure that at least there's a good road network. If there are some arrangements, maybe some places you need to fill, for the sake of your vehicle passing there, you can make some of those adjustments before you begin operation in that area. Also, make sure that your target customers, or the people you are selling to the most, are close to your factory, because it will be easier for you. The price of petrol now has increased. So the closer you are to your customers, the more you'll be able to conserve your fuel and be able to deliver more of your products to people living within the area close to your factory. Now, when also building, one major tip is to make the entrance very wide, make it wide enough. In short, most of the challenges, even in our own bottling factory, we experienced this. When we were trying to move in the bottling equipment, we saw that the entrance was small. So for that reason, we had to get tape, a tape that we used to measure the bottling machine and to expand the entrance to the factory. So try to make the entrance as wide as possible, so that whenever you are bringing your equipment in, your bottling machine, once you are bringing it in, your shrink wrapping machine, most especially that bottling machine, is the one that takes up a lot of space, and is the one that it is the same machine that made us break our entrance, and we had to redo the whole thing. I've seen it in a few factories, I think about two or three factories now, whereby they had to break the entrance for the bottling machine to enter. So the measurement which we used that time for the entrance, that's through the finished product room, it was, I think, 8 centimeters high. Is it eight? I think it was 8.7, or was it eight? Just you can work with maybe 8.8. That's the length and the width. So you can work with that measurement so that by the time your equipment's coming, you won't have stress or you won't have to start breaking the entrance to the factory. Also, when you are constructing your finished product room, make sure that the finished product room is wide enough. Like this finished product room where we are currently, if we were to bring in 5 pure water machines here, we won't be able to, like, this place won't be enough for us. So the more machines you have, the more you produce, you will need a bigger room, a storage room to store your products. If you have enough equipment, you have enough lights, and your finished product room is not wide enough, it will it will somehow cause inconveniences for you, because maybe when there is light and you would need to produce, you've already produced enough water that has covered the finished product room. And maybe by the time your drivers come and pack this water, and you have space now to store another set of water, maybe by that time there's no NEPA lights. You will have to start on engine now to produce. So it is important that you have, like, you can even have two of them. You can have an external storage room. We've done that in our own factory. We created a special storage room for storing our bottled water, like a bigger room, a way much bigger room. This is just for storing pure water. I know you can see some bottled water there, but it's just small. But in our other storage room, I'll include a clip of it. You'll see our bottled water, everything is stored there. So you can also work with that in case you want to, do large scale production. You want to be producing like 5,000 bags, and you want to be producing bottled water of like, 2,000 packs, 5,000 packs, 20,000 packs. So try to make the finished product room as wide as possible. Now, another thing is the factory usually gets hot during production. Now, if you are producing either pure water or bottled water, the factory do gets hot. So it is important for you to create enough ventilation areas, enough windows, sections of the factory with nets, so that flies won't come in and other insects. It's good for you to have a good cross ventilation in the factory. This will reduce heat. Your staffs will be able to produce well, and the equipment too won't overheat. One other thing is try to make proper demarcations. Now, if you have like a living residence, a living quarters within the factory, maybe for your operator and your drivers, try to make sure that there's a clear demarcation between where they stay and the factory, so that it won't be as if everything is just joined together and the whole domestic activities and factory activities are happening in the same place. And this will also help you when after come for inspection. At least you can easily say, okay, this side
So this
is
is
where
the
you have people
facility that's
staying,
up
your
for
operator
sale.
and your
I just
drivers,
came in through the
and
gate
this
here,
side is your
and
factory
this is the
production.
main.
When we talk about this demarcation, it doesn't mean you have to build like one giant fence. It can just be some distance, like a clear gap. You can just make like some distance, maybe distance of like 50 meters or 20 meters, 30 meters, depending on how much space you have enough. You can make a clear demarcation, like some gap should be there between your factory and the accommodation site. Also, even within the factory too, if you are having sachet water, bottled water, and maybe any other thing going on there, your blowing room, you can create demarcations to these aluminum demarcations that are used. You can create a section to show you this is where pure water is and this is where bottled water is. Now, the environment which we are setting up the factory, fumigation is always required. It's important that you clear the area. That's even after too, before they come for inspection. It is important that you clear the area, at least do your own sanitation before the fumigation. This will drive out any pests, insects, or anything that will pose a threat to the production activities of the factory. Now, when you're in the final stages of maybe building your factory and you're in the roofing side, You can use PVC roofing if this industrial roofing you are doing. You can use normal ceiling too. This is our finished product. You can see it's a ceiling. If this industrial factory, those iron work that they do, you can do it. All is allowed, but just make sure that the factory is clean and is following NAFDAC rules, and everything is demarcated and clearly sectioned. And also, you need to label the factory. That's your finished product room. You need a sticker that says finished product room. The production room, you need a sticker that says production room. You need all those out of bound, all those things too. So yeah, those things are also required by NAFDAC and by standard organization when they come for inspection. Now, for the walls too, you can do tiling like the way you see it done here. The tiling is, this is water, and sometimes you might have leakages. So once you have tiles like this, it makes it easier to clean, and it preserves the quality of your building. If you have water entering the blocks and the walls of the building, over time you might start seeing cracks, and you need to do renovation. So by doing this tiling work, it lasts for a long period of time and it makes the environment clean. When you are doing installation, make sure that all the installations are done by experts. You might have one or two equipments and you might have one or two people that will say they can do this one, do that one for you. They can do the plumbing, they can do the electrical for you. If the person doesn't have experience with doing factory work before, please just hold on and seek the help of experts. They'll be able to guide properly on that. And like for the plumbing will be done within the factory. You don't need to break any wall or do anything. There's a way that the installation team will be able to properly do it. Now, once you've built your facility, you should also make sure that security is provided in the facility. So this security could be a person, maybe a security guy that you hire. There is a factory in around that same Natural Gora one time where they boggled the factory, theft. They came, they stole raw materials, they stole the system, the laptop there, and they stole some other things like that. So it is important for you to secure a factory because these are millions you've invested in this project. And it is important that you have good security. You can have CCTV cameras, you can have a security personnel there, you can have maybe dogs in the compound, and you can have solar too. Solar light will, make sure that there's always light in the facility. Your security lights are always on in case there's any illegal activity going on there. Now, someone asked me a while back if they could build a story building for the pure water factory. If you want to build a story building, you can go with a story building, but most of the production activities will have to be on the ground floor because once you produce this water, you need to make it accessible for the delivery trucks to take the water out. So you can't have production activities going on upstairs, then you are bringing water downstairs again. Like it can cause accidents. This is water you are carrying. There might be leakages, someone might slip and fall, and maybe some disasters might happen. So to prevent all this, even if you are to have a story building, sorry, the administrative functions can be upstairs. That's maybe accounting and all other administrative side. Raw materials can be upstairs. Then your production activities and your finished production can be downstairs. Finally, when you are done constructing your factory, to make the whole environment look neat, you can do interlock or you can do some kind of floor work in the factory premises. This will make the place look neat and it will increase your points with NAFDAC and Standard Organization of Nigeria. By the time they see how neat and clean the environment is, your number will easily get approved and you'll begin production early. So these are just some of the few major tips which I have for you once you're embarking on this project and you're thinking of building a structure or converting a structure for a pure water factory. If you are also interested in acquiring a land, specifically in Abuja for factory projects, you can leave a comment or you can also contact me and we'll be able to discuss more on that. Maybe I've carried light. And if you're interested in the one-on-one coaching session, you can also contact me with the contact information I'll be leaving on screen. And the one-on-one coaching is not free, please. So by the time we discuss, we'll be able to find out more about your project and know how to proceed from there.